You think you know what you want, right? But you're too scared to do it. Not because you lack the resources, not because you don't know the next step, but because your brain is screaming at you about everything that could go wrong. What if people judge you? What if you fail in public? What if you look stupid? What if things go viral for all the wrong reasons? Because that's what we all need to be the main character in someone's Reddit thread. So what happens? You stay stuck, not because you're incapable, because risk feels too dangerous. And your brain's entire job is to keep you safe and alive. Let me show you what I mean. I worked with an artist last year. So talented, really talented. She'd been building a portfolio for 3 years or so. Just beautiful work, original, the kind of stuff that literally makes you stop scrolling. Except she wouldn't post any of it. Not on Instagram, not on Pinterest. Is that still a thing? Not anywhere in public. She'd show it to friends. They'd say, "This is incredible. You need to share this." She'd nod and say, "Yeah, I will." And then she wouldn't. 3 years. Most people finish grad school in this time. Because every time she got close to hitting post, her brain would flutter with scenarios. What if people hate it? What if someone steals my ideas? What if other artists think it's a derivative? What if it gets screenshot and torn apart somewhere? What if I look like I'm trying too hard? Her brain had a full catastrophe planning committee. Very thorough, very unhelpful. Her heart knew she wanted to share her work. She wanted to be seen. She wanted to connect with other creatives. She wanted opportunities to come from this work that she loved. But her head was just screaming, "But what if they judge me?" And that anxiety was overwhelming her. And because those two weren't aligned, her head and her heart, she froze. 3 years of work, sitting in her studio, unseen. She told me, "I know it's ridiculous. I know I'm holding myself back. But every time I think about posting, I feel physically sick, like my body's trying to protect me from something." Here's what we tend to forget. Her brain was trying to protect her. Your brain doesn't distinguish between physical danger and social danger, tiny threats and life-altering threats. Oftentimes, they physiologically feel the same. So when your heart says, "I want to do this," and your head says, "But people will judge you," your brain treats that judgment like a physical threat. Fight, flight, or freeze kicks in. Not because you're actually in danger, but because your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do: keep you alive and comfortable. Except your brain hasn't gotten the memo that a mean comment on social media won't actually kill you. What most brains don't understand is that getting unstuck requires risk. And risk, even when it's just a social risk, even when it's just what will people think, it feels dangerous. So your brain keeps you stuck, frozen. Let me show you something. Let me show you a video, real quick.
First, of course you know, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement.
Did you see what just happened there? You'll find a link to the full TED Talk below if you want to check it out. But did you see what happened? That guy, the shirtless dancing guy, his heart wanted to dance. Listen, his head knew people would judge him, film him, obviously, maybe even mock him. But he did it anyway. Not because he was reckless, not because he didn't care what people thought, but because he decided that following his heart mattered more than managing other people's opinions. And then his courage gave the first follower permission. The first follower was scared too, but watching someone else take the risk made it feel slightly less dangerous. And once there were 2 people, others felt safe enough to join. It was amazing what happened. Somebody had to go first. Somebody had to be willing to look ridiculous. Somebody had to decide that the risk was worth it. Okay, or they had to be drunk enough. I don't know which it was. I wasn't there. But no, you're not trying to start a dance party. You're just trying to live, learn, grow. That all comes with risk. Post your work. Speak up in a meeting. Pursue the opportunity. Have the conversation. Make the move. But your brain is treating it like you're about to dance shirtless in front of hundreds of people. Which, to be fair, would be terrifying. But also, you're probably just trying to send an email. And because that feels dangerous, you stay frozen. So, what happened with that artist? Her heart was very clear. I want to share my work. Her head was catastrophizing. Everyone will judge me. Someone will criticize it. I'll look like a fraud. And so I asked her, what's the actual worst case scenario if you posted this? She thought about it, and she thought someone might say something mean in the comments. Okay, then what? She said, I guess I'd feel pretty bad for a while. I'd want to reply back to them or just stop. And then she said, oh, I'd probably get over it. So the worst case was temporarily feeling bad. Not death, not loss of livelihood, not permanent damage, just temporary discomfort. Basically like eating bad sushi. Unpleasant, but survivable. But her brain was treating it like it was a life or death situation. Because to your brain, social rejection is life or death. Thousands of years ago, being rejected by your tribe meant you died alone in the wilderness. I get it. Your brain just hasn't updated its threat assessment yet. It's still running on cave person software. So, we tested a shift. What if instead of, what if people judge me, she asked a different question? What if the right people find me? Same action, different lens, different way of looking at it. Not, I'm exposing myself to criticism, but I'm making myself findable to people who need to see this. She posted one piece that week. Not her whole portfolio, just one. What happened? Of course, 3 people left really negative comments. One was just generally flat out mean. But over 200 people loved it. Left comments about how talented she was. She told me, I spent 3 years protecting myself from 3 people. And in doing that, I kept over 200 people from finding me. Frankly, the math on that was a little rough for her. 6 months later, After continuing to post, she got a freelance contract from someone who found her work online. Not because her work got better, because she took the step, because she finally took the risk of being seen. And just last year, she opened her own studio. Yes, an actual storefront with just her pieces inside. This isn't a lie. You can find her online. Her butterfly art is truly amazing. I am stunned by it. Even if that hadn't happened, even if no opportunities had come from it, she said it would still have been worth it because she got to exercise her courage. And every time you exercise courage, something in you shifts. You remember, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I can do hard things. My cave person brain doesn't run my life. My heart does. So if you're stuck because you're terrified of being judged, I'm with you. I feel the same way sometimes. If you know what you want, but you're too scared to do it, the strategy call will show you exactly how your thinking is creating that paralysis. We'll map out your brain, where your brain is treating the social risk like physical danger, and we'll shift the lens that you're using to process it. But before you book that call, I want you to do something right now. I want you to think about a time you actually took the risk. Could be last week. Could be when you were 7 years old. You were scared. Your brain was screaming at you, but you did it anyway. Maybe you raised your hand in class, even though you weren't quite sure of the answer. Maybe you stood up for a friend when everyone else stayed quiet. Maybe you tried out for a team, even though you might not have made it. Maybe you told the truth when lying would have been easier. Or maybe you were just that new kid. You introduced yourself to someone at lunchtime. The size of the risk doesn't have to be big, but it has to be real. Maybe it worked out exactly how you wanted it to. Maybe it didn't. But either way, you survived it. And something shifted in you because you exercised that courage. Maybe you 2x'd yourself if we had to measure it. Maybe you 10x'd yourself. In either case, in any case, drop it in the comments of this lesson. What was the risk and what happened? Because I want you to remember, you've done this before. That 7-year-old who had the guts to try is still in there. That version of you who chose courage over comfort, it's still you. You didn't lose that capacity. You just maybe forgot you had it. On the next lesson, we're going to learn why insight never leads to action, or it isn't the same, and why you can see the pattern and still repeat it. But if you're ready to stop letting fear make your decisions, if you want to map the thinking pattern that keeps you frozen, book your strategy call. The link's below. You already know that. And let's keep moving.